Hey guys, Jamie here from the Olde Creamery, and welcome to our very first ever gin and tuber session, the garden edition. So I'm in my garden. I have my gin, which is I was going to say complimentary, but it's no, it's the main requirement. But I'm joined with the wonderful Kelly from Wagner's Rose Nursery in South Australia. And for those you remember, we met Kelly at the Melbourne International Flower and Garden Show, and we hung out for a whole week and had lots of fun. And Kelly came to visit our display, and we just collaborated on roses because I really don't know much about roses at all. So that's why we've always talked about doing this. It's about 6 months late, but here we are in the middle of winter, and we're going to talk about roses because I've just received my first ever, well, not ever, my second order from Wagner's. I put in a little order last year and tried roses for the first time. We've got lots of roses on the farm. Gareth's a rose grower or a gardener, but I bought my own first roses, and I've been putting them in. And I just opened my box of what's come, and it's quite interesting. But the first rose I picked out is a Delbard, which is, I'm going to say completely wrong, but Color de Niche. Is that how you pronounce it, Kelly?
Coordinate.
Coordinate.
Coordinate, it's
Coordinate.
French.
I'm from Yorkshire in northern England, and we say things as they're spelled. But anyway, over to you,
Well,
Kelly.
I'm probably
Welcome.
saying a
Thanks
little
for
bit wrong
joining us.
too. It's probably, you're welcome. Good morning, everyone.
So, first question to hit us off and warm you up. The most important question of all: what gin are you drinking?
So I only drink at Christmas time, really. I've pulled it out. It's Four Pillars Australian Christmas Gin, and I have to go on their website every Christmas to remember how to make it up. But it's delicious. And that's the only gin that I drink.
Well, there you go. Well, thanks for sharing your gin little espionage. I mean, I'm so grateful that you brought it out. If you only do it at Christmas, that makes it feel even specialer.
That's
So,
right.
I've got a bit of feedback on here, but that's all right. We'll deal with it. So quick intro. Who are you? Why roses? And what brings you into the world of Wagner's?
So I just love roses because they're so hardy. When I first got my house and I had a little garden there and I trimmed back this bush of something and it just died on me. And I thought, oh my goodness, I just don't have a green thumb at all. But someone gave me a rose and it grew and it gave me beautiful blooms. So I got another rose and I got another rose. And then 10 years later, I went to Wagner's for a pruning display. Loved it. Asked a heap of questions, realised on the day that they needed another girl in the office, and I put my resume in, and 24 hours later I had a job. So it was one of those right place, right time moments. And it's been 7 years, and that 7 years has gone so quickly. And right now we're in our bare root season, so the weeks are just flying by. We're just so busy running, getting all the bare roots out. And yes, we've got another 4 weeks to go because it'll all finish up at the end of August. And then we all kind of have a relax. We have a break, we have a holiday, and then we get started on the new roses for 2027. So, yeah, roses. I've got about 120 in my own garden, as well as love looking at the thousands and thousands of roses that we've got out at work as well. So I would deal with roses every day of my life and yeah, still loving it.
It's amazing, and I think it's we talk about. I started with dahlias, and I bought one, and I didn't kill it, and I bought two, three, four, and now we've got several thousand. So they're just plants; they just become addictive, and the flowers just beguile us, and we're lost for eternity, and our bank accounts are never the same. So let's talk a little bit about Wagner's. It's a rose nursery. It's in South Australia. Yeah, why Wagner's? What's this history of Wagner's? I guess.
Okay. So Brian Wagner and Benedetta Rasconi are the owners of Wagner's, and I work for Brian. And he was originally in Adelaide. It is about, he doesn't even know, 40, 45, maybe 50 years old, Wagner's, because he has been around roses since he was a little boy because of his mum and dad. And he's just grown up with them his whole life. and he wasn't based in Adelaide, and people still remember him from Adelaide. We still get phone calls saying, "Oh, I'm just coming down to visit you," and we're like, "Oh, do you know we're 500 kilometres away now? We're based in Kalangadoo," and so he had to do a move. Oh, I think he said he worked out about 29 years ago. He had to move down to Kalangadoo. Adelaide put on water restrictions in the area that he was in, and it was one of those situations where it felt um, really challenging at the time. But then he found Kalangadoo. He actually knew some people down here, some rose enthusiasts that said, "Brian, we've got really good soil down here. Come check us out." And he did. Yeah, found a property and has grown the best roses he's ever grown. So that's Brian. Um, and we will stay there. The amount we're in old farming land. If Kalangadoo, there's not much there. It's a little town. It's all farming land, but the soil is beautiful. It is has sheep and cattle grazing on there for many, many, many years, and of course, all that goodness is in the soil. We have really good water, really good quality water, and so all that equals very, very good plants.
Cool. And I may have seen on Facebook or Instagram, but is it Brian's son's recently returned from overseas, been in France or somewhere, and is now mixing things up and bringing a
Yes,
younger angle maybe to the
Luke is with
business.
us. Luca helps out every time he can. So Luke is still young, and he's still is I think he's going to go to uni. I think that's still on the cards, but he also is working in skiing areas. So Italy, New Zealand, he's home at the minute, off to America to learn more about roses. And we
Wow.
just will see where it goes. But he's very hands on. Very smart. Oh, I say kid because I'm a lot older than him, and so anyone under 30 is a kid to me. So very smart. He's helping me in the office at the minute. We needed some extra hands for some entry, and so he is learning all parts of the business.
Awesome. So let's talk some theory to help some people out, like me, who don't really know what they're doing. So I've just got my amazing box in the mail, and it's just full of goodies and cut flower varieties, and I can't wait to learn more about them. But what's in my box and what should I do when I get them? Because, some people might look at them and think, oh, they're green, but they've all got no soil and I've got no roots. What should I be doing? Because most people expect when they buy a plant, it comes in a pot, maybe.
So you open your box and you check your order. Make sure you've got the right roses in there. 99.9% of the time, we've got it right. It's only that, minute problem that maybe you've got a Mr. Lincoln bush instead of a Mr. Lincoln climber. And, that's just a mistake because it's all hands on at the rose farm. There's no machines, no anything to do this process. It's all done by hand. It's all done by people, and quite a lot of people. So this time of year, we do employ backpackers, which are an essential part of our business. And we've got such a really, really great group. You would see them if you follow our Facebook. You would see their photos on there and little videos, and they're having a great time. They've got the music happening, and they're flat out packing the roses for us. And so what you do is check that your roses are the right varieties. Have a look at the rose. Now, the important thing is we get a lot of questions of, I've got my box of roses, but I'm not ready to plant yet. What should I do? What you should do is then wrap them back up into the box and then put the box in a cold and dark environment. So for me, that's my car shed, and they can be stored away for about a week. So say the box comes in on the post on Tuesday, but you're busy working like we all are, can't get to it to the weekend, that's fine. Just put them in a cold, dark place. And then when it comes to Saturday, say you're going to be planting on Saturday, bring them out on Friday, put them in a bucket of water for hydration, and then they're ready to go when you plant on Saturday. So the most important thing though is when they're in the water hydrating, get your holes ready. So don't have your rose laying there next to the spot that you want to plant it while you dig your hole and do a bit of weeding and all of that kind of stuff. It needs to go from the bucket of water into the hole. So don't let the roots dry out at any time. Very important. And you will notice
So that's
that
really.
they are bare rooted. Sorry, Jamie.
I was just going to say that's really. I was just going to say that's really good because as I'm most gardeners, I get very excited and I buy things and I'm not always ready to put them in the ground. I even have a garden bed ready, and we spoke about that earlier. This new area I'm putting these roses in is still a work in development, so so thankful I can keep them in for a week, and I'm not going to have to stress about them. Which there's a this
Yeah.
is really good. So
Yeah, they're dormant, so they're not using any energy at all. So yeah, they're quite fine. And especially if people are worried because it's taking, a week to get to them in the post or a week and a half, if you're in outback and they're worried about how their roses are going to survive the trip, totally fine. They're dormant. If they start to warm up a little bit in the box, they might try and shoot, but normally not really. Normally they're just still arriving in their barrett condition, and yeah, go ahead and plant. The best practice is
awesome.
to plant as soon as possible. Obviously they want to be in the ground. We're having a very mild winter at the minute and they're predicting a warm spring, so the sooner you get them in the ground, the sooner they will activate their root growth and get that sap flow going.
Cool. So before they plant, we just spoke about that. We're going to keep them. Well, I'm going to keep mine for a week, but we're going to get them in the ground. They're never going to be out of water. They're going to go from the water straight to the ground. What's the first thing we should be doing when we get them in the ground? Or how deep, how wide a hole? Because I guess when you're looking, I'm going to use this one again. Oh,
So
getting that way
what you
up,
should have
Jamie.
done three months ago, you should have prepared your soil. And so by that we mean put some sea mungus in there. You don't need to till it, you don't need to turn it over. I'm a no dig person because um, maybe I'm lazy. I don't know. It just works, not digging. I just lay my singmungus on top and I've just let the rain just soak it all in. So that was 3 months ago. That just gets that microbe activity happening. So it's just a really friendly place for the rose to go. So say I've got my rose now, I'm ready to plant. I'll dig a hole, say 30 centimetres by 30 centimetres down. And you can tell the condition of your soil then, like if it's nice and moist and it's not sandy, it's not dry, you can tell then if your rose is going to be in optimal conditions. If you have got sandy soil, you live near the coast, if you've got clay soil, a bit of preparation is needed before the rose goes in. It's just not ideal conditions. So for sandy, you need to bulk it up with compost, or else it's just too easily for the water to drain away. If you are in clay, because I think you are, Jamie, I think you've got a bit of clay soil there. So you've actually done some preparation. You've added some compost and some gypsum, and you know that you're going to have to reapply that in the next few years. That's what you've done.
Yeah, so it's the where we're putting these roses is a brand new area of the last 2 to 3 years. So we call it the expansion plot because I've outgrown my flower farm, like most people do with an addiction to plants. And the dahlias certainly take over. So we have a lot of space allocated for dahlias, obviously. But as my floral business, I guess, starts to grow and I do more events and weddings, then there's definitely a need to well, I don't want to support anything imported. Anything we do is always grown local or it's grown in Australia, and I do my best to keep it within a 50-kilometre radius. So, roses and things, which we know historically are grown overseas and shipped in, is not something we want to support. So, hence, I'm now investing in roses. But this new garden bed we put them in is probably, we said there's about 4 rows in there, and they're probably about 30 metres long. So, it's quite a large little area at the end of an old paddock. But we had a row of cypress trees in there. And then one season, about 5 years ago, they all just died, which is really annoying because we're very exposed to the whole world now. And it was a great little area for our sheep. We used to have that paddock to go and lamb in and, just protection from the weather. And it was quite a cute little area. I always imagined we were going to have a little cottage down there for an Airbnb. But anyway, they all died. They had to come out. So this soil has had nothing in it for probably 50 years, apart from these cypress trees. And now we're trying to turn it into, usable, viable land. And we'd started that with just sunflowers. I've just been putting rows of sunflowers in. If they flower, they flower. If they don't, like, I really don't care. It's just trying to get that soil, work it back up again, get the microbes going. I love the fact you talk about sea mungus. We love all of Neutron products for that reason. But A, Australian made, and they're all biodynamically natural. We're full of microbes, and it does help. Again, we don't till our soils very much. Because we're doing such big numbers, we probably till about the first couple of centimeters on the beds, which are the worst. But over the last couple of years, we've found by just putting compost on every single year, we're reducing the amount of seed which is germinating, because obviously the seeds which are in that top couple of inches are getting shoved further and further down every year. And unless we work up the soil, they can't germinate. There's no access to the sun. So over time, our weed suppression naturally is actually reducing, which is amazing, because I love flowers. I hate weeds. You know, no one likes to be weeding. They'd rather be picking flowers.
No.
So, but anyway, that was a bit of a digression, but that gives you a bit of a history about this new patch we're working on. And I will take some photos and videos to put on this with it when I go down there. But yes, I've got them in the ground. We're talking about
Okay,
depth,
so
and I was
yes. So what you should do in the bottom of the hole, make sure that soil is nice and loose. It's just so that the first root system, it's just easier for it to attach into the soil. You don't have to put a handful of fertilizer in the bottom of the hole. I do find that people overdo it with fertilizer. More is not necessarily best. It's not, especially in the hole. It can be too hot for those new fine roots, and it can burn them. So if you do put fertilizer, it's only a tiny handful in the bottom of the hole, and then it's a layer of soil again so that the roots actually don't touch the fertilizer. But for me, I just fertilise from the top. I do everything on the top and just water it all in, because water is the magic ingredient for all of this. So go back to planting the rose. So you've got your hole dug, you've got nice loose soil in the bottom of the hole. You put your bare root in. You can position the roots. Make sure the roots are pointing down. You don't want them pointing sideways. You don't want them going around in a circle. If you've got a really, really long like root system, like give it a chop so that you can fit it in the hole nicely, and that the direction of the roots is pointing down, because obviously you want the roots to grow down into the soil. You want them to be seeking water down there. You don't want those roots to be seeking water up the top of the soil. So that's very important. So we'll come back to that. So you've got the roots pointing down. You will backfill. You want good connection to the root system. So this is when I would put a bit of water in there so that the soil will settle around the roots, and then backfill all the way, and then water, 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 water. So it may be like now, it is winter time, it is cold, but it's actually not raining. Apparently we're meant to be, according to the app, we're meant to be getting rain the next couple of days. But how much rain is that? If it's just a sprinkle on the top, it's not enough. The watering system that you need to do is to be dedicated to the rose, and it needs to soak downwards. So I'm talking, like, if you're having a watering can, I'm talking 20 litres of water just on that one rose, so that maybe a well around it, so that the water doesn't run away. You actually want it to go seep down into the 30 centimeters down into the soil where the root zone is, because it's those roots. That's the whole key of the sap flow. Sap flow will obviously come through the branches. The more sap flow you have, the more leaves that you get, the more leaves, the more photosynthesis that makes the food for the rose, the more roses you're going to get. And you will get roses in November. So that's planting bare root rose. Water is secret.
cool. And I think that's really, really important too, because I've always read about 9 litres or something was the magic rule, but it's really interesting that you've doubled that almost, which is something I'll keep in mind when I get these established. And it will make me
You
walk more,
can't
because it is about.
you can't overwater a rose. Well, you can. If it's a swampy kind of an area where the soil is sodden with water at all times, then no, that's not a great spot for a rose. But if you've got soil that has good drainage, then you can't overwater it. We do recommend 3 times a week to water your new bare root rose, and that's because you're keeping that water system around the roots, and that's what it needs. The first year is where you give the most attention to your roses. It's to get that root system properly formed and going seeking down towards the cool depth of your soil. And then from then on, as a mature rose, you don't need to water it as much, but you still need to water deeply. And so don't worry if you're not getting all these details correct now. Did you see you've got a planting guide in your box there, Jamie? So all the important information is in our planting guide. Yeah, there it is. Lovely. So the only
It's very
other
in depth.
thing that, yeah, yeah, it seems in depth, and it seems like, oh, there might be too much to plant a bare root rose, but no. Once you think like a rose, and you know what it wants. They're like children, you know. If you feed them properly, you know, give them water, give them love and attention, they will reward you.
So we talk about feeding. I go to, because I'm a bit lazy, I use the same product for everything. I just buy Suddenly Pack for roses. I buy it in the liquid version and I buy it in the granule because
Yep,
I'm not sure about roses, but dahlias especially are heavy feeders. And when we're in the flowering
yep,
season, they take in food through their leaves. So we foliage feed as well as we use the granule as a base. So
yep.
pretty much that's what the roses get.
And they will love that. How often do
So
you do your dahlias?
well, the actual foliage spray, the dahlias get it every week. So we always work on a basis of
Oh,
weekly. But I do not
yeah,
expect home gardeners, even with dahlias, to do that. But we obviously pump in these flowers to get every single possible bloom we can because that's income. And then we want to make sure that the tubers at the end of the season, which we've convinced store as much energy as they possibly can because we want them to store through winter. They're going to get dug up. We're going to stress them out by cutting and dividing them, putting them into little packages and sending them off around the globe, not around the globe, but around the country, hopefully. And then they get started in someone else's life, a new garden. So we do go heavily, but we use a concentrate downwards version. So we call it weekly. So whatever we would feed in a month, usually we'd then do that, divide that by 4 and do it every week. So they're not getting too much fertilizer; they're just getting it constantly.
yes,
So that's what we
yep,
kind of do. So the roses probably don't get that kind of treatment because I don't walk past them as often as I do the dahlias, but
yep.
we tend to have that implementation system in.
Well, you could probably, for the roses, turn that into monthly. So we do recommend a little bit of fertiliser often. So yeah, it's the same kind of concept as your dahlias there, but also just make sure you water in deeply. So you spread it out just like chook food, the granules of sudden impact. It's a great product. We love Nutrog as well. It works. That's why we've actually experimenting with some other neutral products on the property at the minute. We work very closely with them because obviously with technology and just advancements, we yeah, it's just trial and error and trial new products and get good results. So that's the dahlias what you're doing with them. The roses would enjoy that just as much.
Awesome. So I guess from my point of view and my purpose of growing roses is I want to use them for my work. So
Yep.
hence why you and me work together, and I have a very wonderful collection of cut flower roses and some rather special ones, I'm sure, and I can't wait to see them flower. Um, but if I'm going to grow them for a cut flower purpose, what am I doing differently, if anything, versus what I might just do if I want it in the garden as a bush rose? So I can get those nice long stems and things like that.
So hybrid tea roses are the best for cut. So there's different kind of growth habits of a rose. Floribundas are usually smaller and bushier with a lot more roses on them. Your hybrid teas are usually bigger, get that long stem happening, and with the roses on the end. So I think I sent you some of our new varieties of Delbars that we just love the roses on. But we need to, if you want that long stem look like Valentine's Day roses, then it is a bit more specific on what varieties that you get. Right now, on the website, we are selling Heaven Sent. Heaven Sent is on there. It's got 20% off at the minute, and that is a really, really good cut flower variety. I'll send you one, Janie. And it's got that hybrid tea, the long stems for presenting. What they usually do is they have one main flower and then a couple of budded flowers on the either side of the main flower. So for cutting, you will need to debud those. And that's just a
Mm.
process you have to go through and walk by and just, snip, snip every time you see one other little bud, because usually they're in clusters of three. Sometimes you'll just get the one on their own, but naturally they're about three. But once you debud those side ones, that main bloom will become more prominent and better and bigger. And yeah, that's what you want, big cut flowers.
Cool. And that sounds very similar to what we tell people in the daily world to do. I can't say I always do it, but definitely disbudding will put all the energy and vibrance, I guess, into that one bloom. And if you're going to show dailies, particularly, you want, and a giant, you want to get that big blooms, then disbudding is definitely the way to go. Can't say I always do it very regimentedly, but the incentive is always there. So it's my first season. Well, believe it's my first real season growing more than two roses. I'm going to actually spend some time with them and learn the process, film it and record it and share with you, and let's go on this journey together. But so, what realistically should I be expecting this year from them?
So you don't you don't judge a rose bush for until it's 2 years old. So it's still young at 1 and 2 years old. 3, we start to think of it as a mature plant. Same with climbers. You don't judge them at 1 or 2 years old. 3 to 4 years old is when the climber is really going to get into the shape and the growth habit that it's meant to do. So, but you will get roses in November. Maybe early November, maybe late November, depending on the spring season. You'll be planting those bare roots soon in about a week, and I'd be thinking within 2 weeks you're going to see those little sprouts happen, and then the leaves will come. Once you've got that leaf system, is really good because it protects the graft and the branches of the rose. Queensland people, mainly them, because they're so much more warmer than what we are here. If they get their bare root roses, and they could have a out of the blue, oh, let's do 35 degrees today in spring, that you don't want the harshness of the sun to cook your bare root rose, basically. So it needs a bit of shade, a little bit of help until it's got its own leaf system and it's got its own shade. So for us, Kalangadoo, Melbourne area, we're on that same kind of plain field and the same kind of weather conditions. So we're not going to have to worry about that. It's more of your New South Wales and your Queensland people who are very enthusiastic about their roses. They can have blooms 11 months of the year, so we're very jealous about that. We have blooms 6, 7, maybe 8 months of the year. My Queensland customers always say, oh, Kelly, when do I prune? I've got flowers everywhere. And unfortunately, you're going to have to cut them off, Queensland people. You do need to give your roses that little bit of a break, just so that they can recoup and away they go again. So yeah,
And we were just
that's
saying before.
what you should expect for Queensland. And for you, Jamie, you'll be seeing these beautiful blooms open up in early November to mid-November, maybe.
And we were just saying to someone before, but they always prune their roses in July, and they've been holding off this year because they've just been waiting for them, a bit like the dailies, waiting for it to go dormant or go to that stage they're ready to do it, and they've just have to pinch the bullet and just go and get it done because the season's so bizarre and early in many ways. I mean, we live around all the farming up here, and the canola's already out, and the canola's not usually till September. There's a
Mm.
magnolia in full bloom down the street in town. It's just like it's definitely almost, as I showed you just before, and I'll take a picture. Is that I've got my rose bush just to the left of me, and I've forgotten its name. We did work out who it was. Um, but it's got one single flower on a complete bush which has no leaves. It's just,
Yeah, Brother
quite pretty.
Cadfael. Yeah.
But that's the one. So the world of flower farming, home gardening, like since COVID, it's took a real resurgence of popularity, and people like me, we're here running little businesses and stuff, which is amazing, and it's really getting people, I guess, off screens and back into the garden and nature, and it's good for our health and well-being and all those other happy little things. So someone sitting at home watching this is dreaming of having their first flower farm or first flower garden, and they're dreaming of roses. What's the first thing you tell them to do? Give them a
The
top
first thing
tip.
I would do, my top tip is, what is your pH? It's a question that I ask all the time and nobody knows. pH is very, very important. Roses like 6.5 is the sweet spot, 6.5 to 7. Anything under 6.5 is too acidic. Anything over 7 is too alkaline. Does it mean it will kill your rose? It will mean your rose will have bad performance. So, what is your pH? All you need to do is get a little test kit. I think they're like $8-10. You get a little bit of soil, sprinkle some powder on it, put your indicator dye on it. It will give you a color. Look on your chart. What is your pH for your soil? And then you can work with it. What do you need to do? Do you need to boost it up with acidity or lower it? There's products out there you can do that with. And yeah, get it to the most homiest soil condition, healthiest soil that you can, because anything in healthy soil will be healthy, and that's what you want. The other thing I would say is, what was it? I was thinking about it. Oh, let's move on. I can't think. There was something else I was going to say. Soil, and
So
I guess
as a
your
big,
water holding capacity of your soil as well.
which again we go back to that sea mungus. If you're building a brand new bed and soil, getting the sea mungus in there, I'm going to say a number off the top of my head. I'm going to say it like I own it: 70% capacity of holding water. Sorry, Nutrog, if that's wrong, but it feels right. But I know, for example, I bring a lot of soil and compost in when we buy new beds, and it's quite accurate. Like, the soil's beautiful. It's pH. It's been tested to a 7, but it's really hydrophobic, and it does take, especially with drip lines, like it takes a while to get that water back into it. If I go and plant something in straight away, well, it's going to die. There's no way that soil is going to hold the moisture it needs. So I think it's really important to get those beds going and moving and learn that. And someone's asking me about soil the other day, and I said to them, well, if you're going to go and spend 10, I spent about $900, I think, from memory on ours, and it's 15 meters. But before you spend that, go and see the company, go and talk to them, learn about where the product is from, what's in it. Ask them to take 20 litres in a bucket home and play with it. See how it responds to your garden and what it takes to get it moving. Because this is where Jamie doesn't work very well. And Jamie just goes out and buys 300 dahlias and wants to put them in the garden and doesn't have a garden bed ready for them, or roses. But Jamie learning, we'll say, yes, let's go and try this. And even if we just put some peas or something in and see how they grow, because I mean, there's a lot of talk to these days about carryover of different substances and things, and peas are very sensitive to this kind of stuff. So again, you do your pH test, you put these peas in, see if they grow, and set yourself up for success. I think that's a good takeaway for anyone starting a
Yeah,
garden. Is
yeah.
but ultimately you're going to make mistakes too.
And
Garden is you're working with nature, a
yes,
natural
exactly.
product.
That's right,
So
Mother
I guess
Nature. And she's on her own timeline too.
definitely, and we're
And I
finding it out
like that
these
you
last couple of years.
yes. And you're composting. Yes. Compost, compost, compost. Worms love it. If you have worms in your garden, if I dug a hole out of my garden now, 30 centimeters by 30 centimeters, I'd see 10 worms in just that little area. Worms are gold. They aerate your soil. The worm feces are just the best fertilizer for roses. So and and another thing is weeds. Like, I know we all hate weeds, and weeding is such a chore. But if you've got weeds happening in your garden, then that's a good sign that your soil is healthy, because weeds don't grow in really acid or alkaline conditions. So if you've got that nice sweet spot there, yeah, you're going to have healthy roses and healthy weeds as well.
So, a final question we had for you is some rose wisdom. one practical tip, one favorite variety, and one thing you wish every new rose grower knew. And we probably just touched on all this kind of stuff, but I guess it's coming back full circle as the last piece of takeaway for everyone.
All right. So, what was the first question?
So it's just one tip, or what's your favorite, or your favorite variety, or something you just think people need to know about roses before
All
we wrap up.
right. My one tip. Oh, something I learnt from trial and error, and it was before I worked at Wagner's as well, is don't plant your roses too close together. Um, Roses, they like their own area underneath the soil. So it's not, I know at the top you want to have that look of, blooms everywhere. But it's underneath the soil. It's the root competition that's happening. And that's why you can't plant roses too close to established trees and things like that. Roses are very much like my own space. This is my water. This is my fertilizer. Go away to everything else. So and I did this problem, I planted 6 roses way too close together. So what happened there was my 2 dominant roses, which were hybrid teas, they took all the nutrients, they took all the water, they grew beautifully. My other roses next door, they didn't die, but I got 1 rose off of, those bushes, whereas I was getting, lots and lots of roses off of my 2 dominant ones. So that was a lesson learned, and I hate redoing things. It's just, one of my pet peeves. If I do something, I like to do it right the first time because I just don't have time to go back and, redo things. But this I did. When it came into winter time, dormant time, I did transplant those other roses and I made them further apart. And yeah, that's my main tip that I tell people when they ring up all the time is I know the look you want on the top, but you've got to consider down underneath. If you go with the same rows, like hedging, all of the same rows, not a problem. It's not going to fight underneath the soil. It's the same rows. But yes, be careful if you're planting all different roses together. Give them their space. That's my top tip. Now, what was the next one? My favourite rose.
Yeah. And is it
So
in
my
my box?
I don't know. What is in your box there? You didn't say. What are the names? Your Curtinage. What else did I send you? I love that one. I
We're
could
having a
actually
bit of
say that is one
connection.
of my favourite roads. It's definitely in my top 5.
We just had a bit of little dropout on the connection, so we missed out what your favourite rose was.
So Coordinage, the one that you've got in your box, that's definitely in my top 5. The Children's Rose, I think that was my first love, and so it always will be. But one of our new releases, Pompadour, you might have Pompadour in your box there. I just can't believe the scent of Pompadour. It just smells amazing. And we've actually got, like, saying how Mother Nature does her own thing. Brian actually went out in the field and picked a bunch of Pompadour in flower, which is just amazing. So it's in at my desk at the minute, and I just love the scent of it. So yeah,
I
there's
can't wait to
3
see it.
really
'Cause
good roses.
one of my favourite dailies is actually called Pompadour.
Ah, there you go.
So,
And so,
and
what was my
we
last
also
question?
come
A tip, something.
a tip. One thing you wish every new rose grower knew.
It's the watering. It really is. If you've got a rose that's not performing well, it's not growing, it's not giving you flowers, it really isn't happy. Water is the first thing we think about whenever we're trying to troubleshoot someone's problems there. You really need that watering to get to the root zone. And as I said before, watering and the sap flow is what the rose will, um, how you'll get the best out of your roses. So, what else was there?
Amazing. That was
I
it.
forget.
We made it. We're at the
Is that
end. Unless there's
it done?
anything burning you have to get off your chest about roses. Because I'm
Ah,
sure we could talk all day. There's so much stuff we could talk about, but we can always. But I think it's given someone really good. It's given me a lot of helpful advice, and I feel a lot more confident now getting out into the garden in a week's time when my garden beds are ready and they're hydrated and they're good to go. And knowing that these babies can stay now somewhere nice and cool and dark for about a week's time, I'm going to soak them with a bit of sea mungus and then I'll get them in the ground and we'll see how they go from there. And I can't wait to share that story with you. But I guess
Lovely.
Wagner's, Wagners.com.au, I'm going to put that in the hashtag. You said you've still got the sale on for about 4 weeks. Is that correct?
Yes, we got 20% off some selected roses. And a lot of them are my favourites because we plant a lot of them, like Puffing Paris is on there, Coordinate is on there, Heaven Sent. They're all my favourites. They've all got scent. We plant like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. So I've got extras to sell. So make sure you hop on there. They're really good varieties.
So I guess the last question is, it sounds like a complete dream when it's in flower to go and look at all these amazing, I was going to say dahlias, roses. um, are you open to the public? And if so, how do we get to come and look at them?
Yes, you can. We're in the middle of nowhere, so you need to Google us and be prepared to do the drive. But yes, you're quite welcome to come on the property. But wait until November, December, because that's when everything is in bloom. And that's when you can see all the roses. We would stop April, beginning of April, we stop visitors because that is then getting into bare root season. We do have tractors and extra people on the farm and stuff like that. So I would definitely say, yeah, people do a lot of holidays in your December, January, February, and that's peak time to see the roses. So yeah, come and see us.
Well, we're definitely coming over. We just have to coordinate our planting and our flower season. Because but your flowering season works really well because it's just before ours. And in the perfect world, I have all my dahlias in the ground by November. So watch out. The Creamery boys are coming over.
We would love to have you.
So
We
for
can
all jokes
we can
aside,
walk through the roses and talk about roses all day.
I know, and I'm going to bring you some little special dahlias too, which are bred by the Delbards. I've got quite a little collection of them now, so we can't wait to bring them over and see how they go for you over in South Australia as a little talking
Oh,
point
very
for your visitors.
exciting.
So
I would
thank
love
you again.
to.
It's amazing to catch up with you, and I appreciate you coming on this little journey with us. And we'll see you in November, December for sure. And then, of course, we're probably going to catch up again at MIFGUS 2027, which is going to come
We'll
around
be
very
there
quickly. Too
with all
quickly
our
because
new
I haven't even
releases.
got the concept of what's happening with dahlias out of my head yet onto paper. So that has to happen soon.
It
But
does. We're already preparing as well.
enjoy the rest of your day. Go and get those roses pruned. I'm going to have another gin, and then I'm going to go and get those garden beds ready.
Thank you, Jamie. See ya. Have a good
See you,
day.
Karen.
See ya. Bye.